Think smartphone bezels can't get any thinner? What if we told you Samsung's biggest competitor for the thinnest bezels isn't Apple or Google, but a newcomer that's about to shake up the entire industry? Stick around because the Galaxy S25 Ultra story just got a whole lot more interesting. Let's kick things off with something that's caught everyone's attention, the new color palette for the S25 Ultra. Samsung's really switching things up this time around, and we gotta say, these changes are pretty interesting. According to recent leaks, we're looking at 4 standard colors: black, blue, green, and titanium. Now, if you've been following Samsung's color journey, you'll notice this is quite different from what we saw with the S24 Ultra, which came in yellow, violet, titanium, and black. What's particularly interesting is how Samsung's bringing back some fan-favorite shades. Remember that stunning blue we saw on the Z Fold 6? Well, it looks like Samsung's bringing a similar vibe to the S25 Ultra. And that green option, it's giving us major S22 Ultra flashbacks, which honestly isn't a bad thing at all. But here's where it gets even more interesting. Samsung's not stopping there. They're planning to release some exclusive online-only colors too. While we don't know exactly what these special editions will look like yet, based on Samsung's track record, we're expecting some pretty unique options that could make waiting for the online release worth it. The shift from yellow and violet to blue and green shows Samsung's really listening to market preferences. These new colors seem to strike a perfect balance between professional and stylish, which is exactly what flagship phone users are looking for. Plus, the retention of the titanium option suggests Samsung's still committed to that premium high-end feel that made the S24 Ultra so popular. Now, let's shift gears and talk about something that's been causing quite a buzz in the tech community: the camera design. Remember those rumors about the S25 Ultra's camera lenses looking similar to the Z Fold 6? Well, we've got some updates, and they're pretty interesting. The latest renders show a design that's definitely inspired by that car tire look, but it's not as pronounced as what we saw on the Z Fold 6. And honestly, that's probably for the best. Here's where it gets amusing. There's this story going around about Samsung hiring an ex-Mercedes-Benz designer for a hefty sum, and some folks are joking that all they did was slap car tire designs on the phone. But let's be real for a moment. What we're seeing in the new renders is actually a pretty sophisticated evolution of Samsung's camera design language. The sensor layout remains consistent with the S24 Ultra, which suggests Samsung's found the sweet spot in terms of functionality and aesthetics. What's particularly noteworthy is how Samsung's managing to maintain that professional, premium look while introducing these subtle design changes. The camera module appears more integrated into the phone's overall design, creating a more cohesive look compared to previous models. This evolution shows Samsung's commitment to refining rather than revolutionizing, and sometimes that's exactly what we need. Here's where things get really exciting. The S25 Ultra is set to be the first phone to run One UI 7, and boy, do we have some updates to share. Remember that preview we saw a few weeks ago? Well, it turns out that was just the tip of the iceberg. Samsung's been busy making even more improvements based on user feedback, and we've got to say, these changes are looking pretty impressive. Let's talk about those icon changes first. Remember that rainbow-colored gallery icon that pretty much everyone hated? Well, good news, it's gone. Samsung's brought back the classic red icon, and they didn't stop there. They've updated icons for pretty much everything: phone, camera, recorder, contacts, Samsung Notes, you name it. It's refreshing to see a big company like Samsung actually listening to user feedback and making changes accordingly. But the real game changer here is the new customization options in Good Luck. If you're into personalizing your phone experience, you're going to love this. One UI 7 is introducing some seriously advanced animation controls. You'll be able to choose between different animation styles, including one that mimics the smooth transitions of Pixel phones, and another that's clearly inspired by, well, let's just say a certain fruit-named company. The level of control is unprecedented. We're talking animation duration, scale, blur effects, and more. You can even use a simple slider if you don't want to get too technical with it. Now, here's where things take an interesting turn. We've been hearing for months that the S25 Ultra would have the thinnest bezels ever seen on a smartphone. Well, it looks like someone else had different plans. Enter Nubia, who's just leaked their new phone with bezels that are absolutely mind-blowing. We're talking 1 to 2 millimeters thin. That's not just thin, that's practically invisible. This development is particularly interesting because it shows just how competitive the smartphone design space has become. While Samsung has been pushing the boundaries with the S25 Ultra, Nubia has come out of nowhere to raise the bar even higher. We're talking about bezels that make even the upcoming iPhone 16 Pro Max look chunky in comparison. The only catch? This Nubia phone is currently planned for a China-only release. But here's why this matters for the S25 Ultra. It shows that the race for the perfect all-screen phone is far from over. While Samsung's flagship will still have impressively thin bezels, this development might push them to innovate even further in future models. Plus, the S25 Ultra has plenty of other features that make it stand out, like that whopping 16 gigabytes of RAM and a blazing fast new chip that promises to deliver an even smoother One UI 7 experience. Speaking of performance, early numbers are showing that the S25 Ultra will indeed offer better smoothness, responsiveness, and animation stability compared to its predecessor. While the improvement might not be revolutionary, it's definitely noticeable, especially when combined with the all-new software optimizations in One UI 7. From exciting new colors to unexpected competition in the bezel game, the S25 Ultra is shaping up to be an interesting device. Speaking of unexpected competition, let's take a moment to understand why this bezel development is such a big deal. You see, Nubia's only recently stepped into the global market, making their debut in the US this year. While they might be the new kid on the block, they're definitely not playing it safe. Their strategy of offering mid-range phones that punch well above their weight has already caught everyone's attention. And now with this Z70 Ultra leak on Weibo, they're showing they mean serious business. Let's talk about these bezels for a moment. When we say thin, we mean really thin. We're looking at what appears to be just 1 or 2 millimeters of frame around the screen. To put this in perspective, imagine trying to find the border between your phone's display and its frame with the Z70 Ultra. You might need a magnifying glass. The design is so extreme that it's making us question whether we can even call these bezels anymore. They're more like a whisper of a frame holding the screen in place. Now, some might worry about how you'd hold a phone with such thin bezels. But here's the thing, unlike tablets, phones are generally manageable one-handed, even with minimal bezels. Nubia seems to have found the sweet spot between pushing design boundaries and maintaining usability. And honestly, this is exactly why having more competition in the US market is fantastic for US consumers. Companies like Nubia are forcing the big players to step up their game, and that means better innovation and more choices for everyone. What makes this particularly interesting is how it's challenging established players like Samsung and Apple. When you look at the leaked images next to renders of the upcoming iPhone 16 Pro Max, the difference is striking. It's a bold move that shows how smaller players can still shake up the market with innovative design choices. And there you have it. While we wait for more updates, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more tech news and updates. We'll be keeping a close eye on any new developments, so stay tuned. Remember, some of these features are still based on leaks and rumors, so take everything with a grain of salt. But one thing's for sure, the smartphone world is never boring, and we can't wait to see how this all plays out. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.